We are live. C Red PC. Y'all do not have SB today. He is handling some business, and C Dub is down for the count. But we got my guy Steve-O in here right now, and we got my guy Hayes pulling up in a couple minutes. But as of right now, y'all have to see red, whether you like it or not. As my guy Hayes joins the crew. Hayes, what up? Steve-O, what up?
What's
the word?
What's the word? But hey, if y'all joining us today, make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and y'all go ahead and rock out for C Red PC. We got Steve-O, we got Hayes, some of my guys ready to talk Bulls basketball. Now, look, y'all. First topic in the head of this thing is me. I'm of the belief that the Chicago Bulls will be a 6 seed or higher this year when it comes to the seeding for the Eastern Conference. I got my many beliefs. And one reason is that, excuse me, one reason is simply because I'm looking at, I know we don't like to compare, but the New York Knicks in 2020, they was a 4th seed. Then, they had a little letdown in that first round. 2021, they missed the playoffs being the 11th seed, made a few adjustments, went out and got Isaiah Hartenstein, and then also added Jalen Brunson and made some moves, added some players. So, and then this past season, they were the 5th seed, and they were able to go ahead and win them a playoff series and make some noise. I'm looking at the Chicago Bulls like, hey, we didn't make too many crazy moves, but we did go get a point guard in Javon Carter who can go out there and provide some stability for the second unit or provide some stability with the team, and he comes with a pedigree and be solid on the defensive end. And then also looking at a veteran like Torrey Craig, I think those two moves are solid. And I think I also realized that the Chicago Bulls core, they already know what's at stake. This is the last dance until otherwise. Hayes, I'm coming to you first, my guy. Do you think the Chicago Bulls are more likely to be a 6 seed or higher or miss the playoffs?
No, I think it's more likely to be 6 seed. And here's what I'm gonna lay it. I'm gonna lay out raw facts to you guys. The Chicago Bulls lost 17 games last season. I've talked about this stat a lot. Bobby probably knows what's coming. 17 games last season, the Chicago Bulls lost by 5 points or less. 7 of those games, the Chicago Bulls scored more field goals, but because they didn't shoot threes, they end up losing that game. On top of Zach LaVine starting off the season hurt, and we know post January 2nd, Zach LaVine was the 9th leading scorer in the NBA post December 2nd, I should say. When you factor in those things, it's simple. The Chicago Bulls, and then we're not even talking about the number of games that the Chicago Bulls had double-digit leads, but they lost those games because they just didn't have the edge. Overall, the Chicago Bulls should be a better team. No, they did not go out and make the flashy signings, signing the big names, but they made the right signings. And it's harder, especially for more casual fans, to understand how improvement in the margins can really help elevate a team to the next level. And so we've talked about this. The Chicago Bulls, just by adding Javon Carter and Torrey Craig at their career averages, not even Torrey Craig's career high in three-pointers he made last season, just based off the career averages, would move the Chicago Bulls from being 29th in three-point shooting to in the top 12 in three-point shooting. What does that equate to? The Chicago Bulls should be a better three-point shooting team. They should be a better point of attack defensive team. They should have one of the best defensive benches in the league, theoretically, if everybody can stay healthy. Those things, and keep in mind, 6 seed last season, all it took was 45 wins. The Chicago Bulls were a 40-win team. So you mean to tell me a team that couldn't win, that lost 17 games by 5 points or less, 7 of those games, they score more field goals, can't turn some of that around just by the nature of that? We're not even talking about improvements from Coby, improvements from Patrick Williams. Those things all point to the direction of the Chicago Bulls being a better team. Then let's talk about the middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference. You already talked about the New York Knicks, so I'm not going to talk about them. The Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers, the Cavs should be around all in that top 4, whatever it ends up shaking out to. You got the Nets, the Hawks, the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, Toronto Raptors, and Indiana Pacers all fighting over 5 spots or not. The Heat didn't get any better. The Hawks are a confusing team. The Brooklyn Nets, most of their wins came before they ended up trading their superstars. There's a lot of reasons to think that the Chicago Bulls can be a better team this year. And what was that? What did I just do? That's called cooking, ladies and gentlemen. I just cooked.
Steve-O, what you got for us so we can continue to stir this pot?
I was pretty much going the same way. Like the things you just mentioned, like out those 5 packs, I'm not scared of anybody. And just like the ones we just seen in the finals, the Miami Heat, not only did they not get better, they actually got worse. So that's the last thing I'm not worried about. And just like you just mentioned, I think us losing those 17 games by 5 points, it's only a few cute things that we just added that could fix that. A faster tempo, which we have seen so far, making shots, which we have seen so far, communicating on defense way better than we was last year, even though we were still a good defensive team on the transition as well. But my whole thing was there was those too many of those times where sometimes you can't put that many people out on that bench. Like if you put IO out, it's a liability in places there. If you put a Caruso out, there's a scoring problem that you got right there. So when you add somebody like Javon Carter and Torrey Craig, who both can get their own buckets, I'm more Tory more than Javon that I'm starting to notice. I thought Javon was more of a bucket getter, more of a shot maker. But what you add those two, like you just said, at the career average in 3-point shots and just their activity when it comes to defense and just active offense, this is why I feel like you shouldn't be no more than 6 or no lesser than 6. It's
Right.
6 and up. You have the talent to be top 3 because we've seen it before. So in my opinion, that's my way. I feel like we should no later be a 6 or higher.
I'm with both of y'all. And I think one of the key things is like Steve-O, you kind of alluded to it, was that second unit. And Hayes, you mentioned as well. I think that defensive unit, at least so far, what we seen in the preseason, when we look at Javon Carter being out there with Alex Caruso, Ayo Dosunmu, sometimes they have Patrick Williams out there. Sometimes they add a more volume scorer like a Zach LaVine, but then you got the big penguin up in the middle to go ahead and grab your rebounds. How well do you
That's
think
Drummond for those who don't know.
Right, drumming. That's just drumming for those that don't know. But Hayes, how well do you think the second unit is gonna do?
The second unit is one of the more enticing things in this team because we know what they can be defensively. And for a team, when you look at that second unit, Caruso, Dosunmu, Drummond, Torrey Craig, and then you're probably going to keep one of the starters out there or whatever happens there. But like those are players that all can defend, they can force turnovers, they can get out in transition, and they're all dangerous in transition. Depending on what starter you leave out there with them, I think the offense can come along, but that team is going to be a team that fights hard, that gets out in transition, and that point of attack defense should be great. And the switchability. Let's also talk about that. So I'm really liking the defensive unit for the Chicago Bulls, but it depends on how it comes together. On paper, they look solid. I didn't even mention Javon Carter, right? In his shooting ability, and what he's shown already there. So like I think the Bulls bench is going to be solid. I just think that the one thing is how are they going to score? Now you can eliminate that with keeping either DeMar, Zach, or Vooch out there with them in some sets, but I think that how they can get their points once that answer is seen consistently, that's what's going to make the determination on how good this bench could be overall. But defensively, I have no concerns about it defensively.
Steve-O?
Yeah, that was my main concern is just shot making when it comes mainly to this second unit. The defense was good. I said the only thing that I felt was lacking a little bit was on the second unit when it comes to defense was just the communication, and it mainly because it was just one person communicating. If it was Alex out there, it was just Alex. If it was Patrick Beverly out there, it was just Pat. When Zoe was here, everybody was talking. He made everybody talk. So, and I think that was just the one thing we was lacking. But the main thing I'm worried about when it comes to this is making shots, constantly making shots, moving the ball like we've been seeing. But one of my the main things that I have been saying is not overpassing, because sometimes we open pass, miss shots that we don't take because we think it's a next pass that can be made. If it's open, take it. And we got a lot of shooters on this team still, and we just added 2 more. So that's my main concern. If you like I said previous in the last topic, if we get the career average at least of both of them to make threes, we Gucci.
We definitely will be Gucci. And I think that's kind of like a lot of, at least internally, when you think about Chicago Bulls fans, they like, hey, how would this second unit accumulate points? Who's going to be the scorer? Because if we keeping it a buck, none of these guys really on the bench can go ahead and create a shot for themselves. But me personally, I don't think that's 100% necessary, because if it comes down to it, you can always add in a DeMar, always add in a Zach LaVine, or even, you know what I'm saying, give Vooch a little run too to see what he could do and add some of his, prowess and presence within that. So when it comes to the offensive scoring, how you looking at that? you know what I'm saying? I know we talked a lot about defensive communication and 3-point shot, but what about the other aspect of the offensive side for the second unit?
Um, I'm looking to see like who's gonna make that define. I don't know who's gonna be the defined scorer in that role yet. And to me, it's if I had to make a prediction, it's kind of leaning towards Tory, just because I've seen Tory be able to make multiple shots on his own, and
Mhm.
he's not scared to take them. Now, not to say that I feel like Io can, if Io wants to improve his stock and improve wherever he wants to go with his career, this is a perfect time to show in. He could become that offensive guy because we've seen that shot look confident now. He's not scared to take that shot. His layups is a little bit under control. He's starting to understand speed and tempo, so if he can step in. But if my main concern is just who's going to be that guy where in that second rotation, if Zach and DeMar is not out there, who's going to be the guy we go to make a bucket at any time?
Fact. So Hayes, the point is like, where do you think that offensive scoring punch is gonna come from in the second unit? I understand we can, we got the 3-point shooters, but what do you think is necessarily gonna come from? Is it a specific player? Is it kind of play style? What you thinking about that?
It's going to have to come through play style, in my opinion. It's going to have to come through, like I said, forcing turnovers, getting out in transition. Because while a lot of those players don't have like amazing half court offense in transition, they're all dangerous in their own right. Caruso's dangerous in transition. Drummond's dangerous in transition. Io DeSumu's better when attacking and going downhill in transition. So I think through that play style, it could be depending on who has the matchup and mismatch that game. Even Torrey Craig, like Torrey Craig is another player that while not amazing in transition, you can do some pick and roll things with him in the half court. And I think that's where Javon Carter and Torrey Craig come into handy in that second unit, is that when you're not forcing the turnovers and you do have to play a more half court style, it's going to be slower, but I do think that those players can help at least get you going some in the half court. So I think it's going to have to come by committee. I think that's what it's going to have to come by. And unless, like I said, they keep one of the starters out there with them, it's going to have to come by committee. And depending on the game is what's going to really determine that factor. Now, I will say one player that I don't know if is going to play a lot this season right now, but a player that could help that scoring off that bench unit and be in the half court is Julian Phillips. He has the potential to be that. But we know with the Billy Donovan coach team, it's not guaranteed that a rookie's going to play a lot their first year.
That's true, but I look at it like, hey, we seen last year. It is last year. You know what I'm saying? Things can change, but we seen a lot of times Billy Donovan go ahead and have Andre Drummond play a half and DJJ play the other half, or kind of mix them in just to kind of see how things match up with the opposing team. Do you think Julia Phillips can possibly creep in early on, or do you think it's going to take some time?
I think that the only way that I could see Julian Phillips cracking the rotation early is if that defense and rebounding is legit, because Julian Phillips is one thing that we know the Chicago Bulls don't do well is offensively rebound. That Julian Phillips is a very solid offensive rebounder because he's active, right? And then that defense, if those two things are really good for Julian Phillips early, I can see him cracking the rotation some. I still don't think it's going to be consistent. It's going to be like Derrick Jones Jr. You know how we'll see Derrick Jones Jr. for 5 games in a row and then won't see him for 6 and wonder, hey, what happened, right? That's what I think may happen with him.
Exactly. What you think, Steve-O?
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing. I'm going. He gonna have, whenever he comes in, it's gonna have to be an instant impact, and it's gonna have to be consistent if he wants to constantly stay in the rotation. Because, and then we also got to ponder the idea that we know how Billy Donovan works. If he want to change the rotation every game, he will do that. So it might be a game just because if we go up against maybe OKC, he might want to play smaller. He might feel like Julius will work in certain ways, and he might feel like AC starting that game will work some games. It's just weird. You never know how he's going to work. So to like I agree with everything he said. Julius definitely have a way in, but it's very limited. And if he's going to make it his way through it, it's going to have to be instant impact, and it has to be constant. He gonna have a short leash for sure.
I agree, because Billy Donovan sit you down real quick. For real.
We seen it with Pat.
To Julian Phillips' credit, last year, what did we keep saying? Why doesn't he put Dalen Terry in? Because Dalen Terry brings energy, right? He brings defense. Right. But we know Dalen Terry is unfocused. That's one thing you don't have to worry about Julian Phillips, right?
Wow,
Julian Phillips got better every single game of the preseason, and he learned from every mistake he made in the preseason. And so if that trend continues, it may not start off with a bunch of minutes, but I can definitely see Julian Phillips being a fairly consistent part of the rotation by the end of the season, if not at the beginning.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. But y'all heard it here, man. Bulls gonna be 6 seed or higher for a bevy of reasons. It is what it is. We're gonna show some love to the chat before we continue on. Shout out to Angie, always coming through. You've been here for every episode thus far. Shout out to you. Then we got Milo. He said, I can't take both DeMar, the Frozen, or Voot serious. Ain't gonna lie. Okay, for sure. Ain't mad at you.
But he's a Lakers fan with Anthony Davis in his.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Anthony Davis can step off the plane and shatter every bone in his leg right now.
The wind just blew, and he tore his Achilles.
Oh God!
he just tore every ligament in his wrist, opening the jar of peanut butter. Like that's real hot headline.
He do need some peanut butter and milk. I ain't gonna lie to you. You need to get it right.
He tore his labrum just picking up the milk.
People forget Anthony Davis missed 60-something games with a butt injury. like we forget that. Like
a whole tush injury.
No, you don't real even know talk.
And we didn't get no explanation of how he got it, but that's another story.
It is what it is. But Doria, shout out to you. Great question. She said, "What do y'all think about P. Will not signing an extension and will be he's gonna be a restricted free agent, my guy? But what y'all think about that?"
You got to earn.
It's restricted. The Bulls. We talked about this over on the other channel. Like the Bulls are at no risk of that. If P. Will shines this season, you give him the max. Boom. You ain't got to worry about it. If he doesn't, then if you get into a contract negotiation, you say much like they did with Zach LaVine, go out and find your deal. If it's a deal that's reasonable, we'll match it, or it can go the way of Coby White. Right before free agency opens, listen, you made a step up. This is the offer. Bam, we good. We got you locked in. It's no risk for the Bulls at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to SB, my guy. Couldn't be here, but he in the chat. Y'all already know. But hey, it's definitely a lot of talk about Coby White. Us personally, we seen White be able to go out here and take a step forward. We still want my guy to go out here and do many more things for the Chicago Bulls. But I believe that Coby White can place himself in the most improved conversation. I am not picking him to win, but I think he can place himself within the conversation depending on how the team performs. Just some of the winners from back in the day. You got Larry Marketing, Ja Morant, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Pascal Siakam, Victor Oladipo, Giannis, and CJ McCollum. That's from last year, dating back all the way to 2016. You seen these guys take their steps forward respectively. Do y'all think, Steve-O, do you think Coby White can place himself within that most improved player conversation? And what would it take?
Consistency. That's the main thing. It's gonna take consistency, health for one, definitely health. He gotta stay healthy, but and I won't say a huge jump, but a jump in points, just a little jump in points. So if he can average, what he end off averaging?
It was 9.7, so about
average
10.
about 9, but 10. If you could jump up to about 15 to 17 in between that area, you're right in the right perfect place to get a 6-man a year. But it's mainly just consistency, and also if he's the starter, they haven't announced it yet, but we believe he is going to be. If he improves on the assist numbers, and we visually see the playmaking starting to come out and starting to be more better in decision making, we all see improve over the last span of years. So that's what pretty much is going to take: consistency and constant improvement, which he's been doing.
For sure, Hayes.
Coby White's sophomore year, 15 points per game, 5 assists, 4.1 rebounds, right under his steal per game on 41% shooting from the field. Coby White's not going to get better numbers. He may get those numbers. He's not going to get better numbers than that, being the third, fourth option on offense, even in the starting lineup. So I don't see him getting most improved being in that conversation. I do see his game definitely improving, but we know most improved player comes down a lot of times to stats. They don't get into like how you improved your game, how you impacting. Yeah, you averaged 5 assists before, but you're averaging 5.1 now. But how did you get those assists, right? Those are things that Coby White is definitely going to improve in, but it doesn't necessarily get you the most improved player of the year conversation. So I think people who actually watch basketball and don't stat watch are going to understand the improvements Kobe made, but I don't know if they show up in a way or the Bulls win enough games for him to get in conversation for the award.
So pretty much you saying that it's more likely that Coby White's most improved player talk is going to be overshadowed by the star players. If Zach LaVine, let's just say, goes off for a couple games, or DeMar, is that kind of where you going with that?
No, I'm not saying it's going to necessarily be overshadowed. I just don't think he's going to have the statistics. Like, I think his play is going to be solid, but I don't think he's going to have the statistical output to get in the conversation. Because I see we're gonna see, like, Ben Mathurin is absolutely going to be in Most Improved Player of the Year award. He's going to probably average close to 20 points per game. I don't see Kobe getting close to that, so thus I don't see him really getting in that Most Improved Player conversation. It just comes down to the stats. He's going to improve over last year, but I don't think he's going to have some of the stats because, again, he's going to be behind Vooch, behind DeMar, behind Zach probably in shots per game. So I don't think he's necessarily going to have the opportunities to get that.
Yeah, because I was of the mindset of, hey, he can go from 10 to 15. He could just place himself within the conversation. Mm-hmm. But then on your point, when you talk about Ben up in Indiana, he definitely can go ahead and for lack of a better word, overshadow Coby White's performance in that aspect because he's might have a bigger role, compared to Coby White. And then I also, while you was talking, I also thought about, a player like Tyus Jones. You know what I'm saying? Now he's getting starter minutes. We seen what he can do, filling in for Ja Morant. And let's just say he go ahead and do exactly what you referred to when you talked about Ben with Indiana. Let's just say he's averaging 20, 21 points per game. That's definitely going to be looked at a little bit different compared to Coby White if he's just sitting at 15 points per game. I understand that.
I don't know if I'd agree with that because the person that won last year was Malcolm Brogdon. And what team was he on? Boston.
Brogdon won 6-man.
He's won 6-man, not most improved.
Oh, we talking about most improved, bro.
Yeah, most improved. That was
I am tweaking.
That was Lowry, and he averaged 25. Ja Morant, the year prior, averaged 27.
Tweaking. I take that all the way back. Yeah, he don't have a chance.
The lowest in the last 6 years was Pascal Siakam with 16.9 points per game.
He could get that, but like you said, there's too many other people. Like you said, Ben Mathurin. There's too many other people that, like, even if for some reason I don't think it's gonna happen, but let's say Obi Toppin goes and become a starter, he can easily be a 6-man of the year. Just by the positions he's in. So yeah, I agree. It's too many people around the league that's in better situations to get the 6-man of the year. I mean, most improved. I don't know why I keep saying.
Yeah, I can respect that because I definitely feel the conversation when we talk about with all the guys that's in front of him. Hey, and we never know what, if Patrick Williams going to be fighting for some of those shots that Coby White is going to be getting too, especially when the coach is calling for him to be a bit more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? And you seeing things, and you just hope that guy can put things together. But when you look at Coby White, I think it's going to be more of a, kind of taking the backseat thing, kind of setting things up for others type thing, for sure.
Yeah, that's his position now. That's his role.
For sure. I think we had a good question.
And whoever said, somebody said we ain't better than the Nets, y'all. I don't know what
they is crazy. But Ridge Maddock, he said the Bulls are a disaster. Y'all can't be serious. White can run the offense or score if he's being keyed on. This some fan talk, not legit analysis. I'm sorry, the Bulls are trash.
And I'm sorry, but that's an idiotic comment and one that's not really actual basketball. First of all, hold on. Does Petty need to come out? Because first of all, your name is Ridge Maddock. You're a fucking idiot on top of that anyway. But on top of anything else, like, understand how basketball works. It's not about him being keyed in on, and Coby White has actually shown and stepped up. If you actually watched him play, that he actually is a pretty good scorer, regardless if he's being keyed in on or not. But and the Bulls' offense isn't about Coby White just running the offense. It wasn't even that when Lonzo Ball was here. We don't have our point guard traditionally run a half-court offense. Now, the Bulls need to spread it out more, but to say the Bulls are trash, again, a 40-win team that lost 17 games by 5 points or less, that improved in the most areas they needed improved in. Chill out, homie. We actually talk basketball. You stay in the YouTube comments.
Facts, because that's exactly what it comes down to. You can't say, we are not a title contender. That's what we
Exactly, but
always
we've
come
got
up
better.
on here on every episode to say the Bulls are not a title contender. We Bulls fans, but we are not stupid, my guy.
Can I answer this question? He said, "Explain to me how we better than the Nets." The current Nets team didn't win all those games last year. That's how we're better.
Matter of fact, if you look at their record after that trade went down, they actually went on several long losing streaks.
Losing to us to be a fact, but yeah, like I said, actually watch the game and get out the box score because the box score don't tell the whole story.
And I get it. I know y'all hyped up about Mikal Bridges. I like the guy too, but I still
Bridges
don't
is a
see.
dog.
You know what I'm saying? I still don't see where it's all going to fit into where these guys are pushing for a 6 seed or higher when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. I get it. Dorian Finney-Smith, not a bad player, but is he a difference maker to the point to where you're going to be higher than the 6 seed? I'm not ready to say that. Cam Johnson, like his game, I'm not ready to say he's the difference maker to push y'all above a 6 seed either. And I like Ben Simmons and what he's did in the preseason, but it's the preseason. And when the games really matter, is he going to revert back to what we seen last year to what he just wanted to be in street clothes all the time? That's just me.
And there's this another thing that's going around that y'all just love Nick Claxton. Dude ain't that nice. He's a skinny
like
Clint
Nick
Capella.
Claxton, but
I like Nick Claxton, but he's a skinny Clint Capella. He's very limited and it's not hard to stop. I'm not worried about no Nick Claxton.
Yeah, I ain't worried about Nick Claxton. Look, I like him. I like his game. I like that. Hey, he wasn't afraid to battle and play basketball last season, but come on now. Steve-O said it last time he was here. Clint Capella 2.0.
Like you said, we chatting, but you're not explaining how y'all better. You're just saying y'all better. How y'all better? Y'all younger. Y'all ain't been through no games for real. Y'all haven't been in no serious situation. Y'all not ready. Y'all nowhere near ready. Y'all, who are y'all? What's your point guard right now?
They gonna say Ben Simmons.
He gonna be trying to leave by the time the year over with because
we will not kill
Ben
for
Simmons.
Claxton. The guy can't even shoot jumpers, my guy.
Bro, he can't even. Bro, has
He's
anybody ever
top
seen
10
that man
center in
do
the
a
league
hook
right
shot? He can't even do a drop step. They don't even give him the ball in the post. You think I'm worried about Nicholas Claxton? His name is Nicholas. Bro, nobody worried about the Nets, dog. Y'all need to be worried about Indiana. Indiana might bust y'all. So y'all need, that's who you need to be worried about.
That's hilarious,
Facts,
bro.
Facts.
Come in this mug and get blown out by Pistons. Keep talking like y'all wrong.
I'm trying to tell you. I can't wait. Hey, NBA season is here. We get games tomorrow, and then it's on. Let's get it.
Just because you say I'm lying don't mean I'm lying.
Facts.
And somebody said the Bulls don't have like a top 5 defensive team in the league last season.
Do your research.
We have
no
do.
Defense.
This is what's funny because like people are like Vooch, Zach, DeMar. You mean to tell me you guys play defense? I mean, yeah, technically we're a better defensive team than the Nets even before the trade. And if I'm not mistaken, we actually weren't we like 3-1 against the Nets even when they had KD? Because I remember DeMar DeRozan danced all over KD, and KD looked like, hey man, I should have brushed my hair today.
This mug said Claxton banged on Embiid because Claxton caught a body on a dunk. He's grown now.
Everybody get dunked on.
He got Mr. Fantastic arms. He better be dunking on mugs. Like what? Y'all not making sense.
Steve-O's vendetta against certain players is always funny because it comes out of. I had no idea Steve-O didn't like Nick Claxton. That came out of nowhere. Bro.
I do. It just stop sitting here acting like they're better than they're not. They're not. He's not that nice. He's good, but ain't nobody sitting them creating the game plan for Nick Claxton. They're not.
Facts.
I tell you one thing. They doing it for Vooch though. Every single person got to take account for Vooch. But y'all love to say, "Oh, I don't believe in Vooch." Vooch is a top 10 center. Look at the stats.
Facts.
That's funny.
Look at the play. But hey, we move on to the last topic of this episode, man. Look, y'all. I believe Zach LaVine, he gonna get back to it. In the way, what I mean when I say get back to it, I believe that second half of last season, he put on the show. He was able to get the Bulls at least in competition. Not good enough, obviously, in the Miami Heat game in that final play-in game that would have got us into the playoffs. But I still think that overall, when you look at everything in totality, Zach LaVine showed up and he played. He hooped. Now he gets an off season. He doesn't have to go through any knee, cleanups or anything like that. He gets to be healthy, be good. I say Zach LaVine gets back to being an all-star caliber player and makes the all-star team. Hayes, Zach LaVine make the all-star team this season?
Oh yeah, Zach LaVine's going to make the All-Star team again this season because he's motivated. He's coming in. It's going to be much like the last time he made the All-Star team. He's going to make the All-Star team this year. Now that doesn't mean that he's still not going to have definite holes on his game that's going to frustrate us sometimes. But Zach LaVine, last season post All-Star break, I think only 3 players in the league scored more points than him. I already talked about he was top 9 in the league in scoring after December. Keep in mind that the season don't start to dang near October. So like Zach LaVine is going to be an all-star this year if he stays healthy, stays focused, and he does and he shows that instinct that he showed in a lot of big games last season. But it doesn't mean he's going to be perfect. But I definitely think LaVine's going to be all-star again next year.
I'm with you on that. Steve-O, what you got? Zach LaVine gonna make his return as an all-star?
Yeah, to me, it's all about health. When it came, the most healthy he's been was being between this past few years he been dealing with it in the ACL. Between those times, he hasn't really been injured like that. He played through most of his injuries. That's what he do. This is the most injured he's been since that ACL. So to me, and then when he was hurt, he still was what you say 9th in the league in scoring. So I don't see no reason why he can go back to that. Now I will put a caveat in that it was because Zoe was there and giving him the ball in right situations. But then again, still, even if you should still average over 22 points per game, in my opinion.
I mean, 2 years prior, I believe DeMaurice 5th, he was 6th, and then last year my guy went on and been the 9th leading scorer after December. I think my guy's gonna have a tremendous season this season. As my ranking, I got him in the top 5 for shooting guards in this NBA. And I think that the guy, you ain't got a choice but to respect his game. And that's just what's going to show on the court, especially with all the things that he's going to be able to do. And I think the team has taken a step forward. They just got to go ahead and put it on wax for everybody to see. Hayes, I never got your answer. Where you rank Zach LaVine as a shooting guard in this NBA?
Fully healthy, definitely top 5 to 8 for sure.
Steve-O?
Top 5.
Yeah, for sure. And it's LaVine's contract year. No, it's not, my guy.
Y'all live in a cave.
Has 4 more years on his contract. Who said that it's LaVine's contract year?
Do y'all live in a cave? Like, where y'all been at?
First of all, like what Westcote, Cottage Bean, Ridge-Matic, I think are all the same dude. And have you noticed they've just been talking to each other? It's one dude from the same burner account, bro. And his mental health is at an all-time low around this time of basketball year, bro. Like my boy needs a therapist ASAP, bro.
Hey, you see the love the Nets
as his Avi too? That should let you know he ain't wound too tight.
He said his bad. He was thinking Kawhi. I don't know why. We ain't saying nothing about a K or a Y in this mug, but I think since we gonna do it, since we might as well name the top 5 shooting guards because people gonna see who's it. So what you got? Devin Booker.
I agree with that.
Who's second?
I be going
Brown.
I go Brown. My locks for 3, no matter how you put them, is Book, Brown, and Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell. Everybody agree with
Brown,
that?
Mitchell.
And then after that,
I don't want to say it. I'm gonna let you say it.
Me, I forgot who I put at 4th.
Is Bradley still in your 4?
Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick. Well, no, I didn't pick him. I can't.
Anthony Edwards. You said Edwards?
Edwards is 4.
I had Zach at 5.
Yeah, I got Zach as 5 too.
And then I had Bradley Beal 6. That's how I went.
That's
I'm sorry. James Harden ain't in this conversation. I don't care what
James Harden.
Don't get Steve-O started.
In the regular season, I'll give it. Like I said, James Harden's going to score a lot of points in the regular season. Going to do a lot for you. But me personally, like I just always look at James now, and it's just like, when is it going to implode? Because it's going to it. So
I can't wait for him to get mellowed. I can't wait.
Oh, I think that time is coming, brother.
Let's go. What basketball is you watching?
Bro, he's only looking at 2K and where they line up.
Bill is not a point guard. He ain't.
This is why you can't have sports conversations with everybody, bro. Sometimes you just gotta let people go, bro.
He's a point guard now, but
he said Giddy is getting better.
Giddy is getting better than LaVine. Go and look up what Zach LaVine has averaged since he's become a Chicago Bull against the OKC Thunder, and especially against Giddy. He averages like 31 points when Giddy's guarding him. No.
Hey, we had somebody in the chat said
JB is better. I said JB is too. JB is top 2. It's Booker than it's JB.
Yeah, I ain't mad at
I
that.
underrated him. It's just, to be honest, he was in the top 3 discussion, but Muzz got better. And he kind of stagnated because he was injured. It's not that to be honest, he right where he need to be.
Yep. At least he in the top 5, at least for me.
Listen, JB and Jaylen Brown and Zach to me are like, it can go either way. One time or another. Like if Zach was in the position and played next to a player like Tatum, I think we would have a completely different understanding of how good Zach LaVine is. But like Jaylen Brown to me, he still can't go left. Like I still don't understand to this day why teams just don't line up on the left of Jaylen Brown. I mean, on the right of him, force him to go left. He's gonna mess up every single time.
I think most people can't go left. I'm just be honest with you. No, I mean, I know the difference is
not guards. There's a lot of forwards that can't go left.
I think we need to change the terminology. He not only can he not go left, he can't dribble with his left hand. That's the problem.
Oh yeah,
he can't dribble. Bro. Zach can't. He could dribble with his left hand, but he can't go left.
Hey,
especially in the fourth quarter, like it's just like he forgets.
He just be glitching. I don't know what's going on with
bro.
Zach.
It was
Zach,
so
Zach
bad.
Be tweaking, bro.
It was so bad. They mirrored a video of this man dribbling to make it seem like
Celtics fans were so they
mirrored this, bro. They mirrored that. I was like, y'all doing too much now. Like you do realize we see that whole backward 7, right? Or whatever number he is.
Oh man, that is hilarious, bro. Gotta love it, bro.
This man said Desmond Bain is better. Good Lord. He's not even the number 1 option on his team.
Big fan Breezy, the Nets fan, said the Bulls getting that work on November 3rd. What day is that?
That must be when we face the Nets. That's cool.
Yeah, that's on Friday. That Monday we'll be live and we're gonna be able to chop it up and see what it do for the show. We ain't gonna duck no smoke. We ain't gonna duck no smoke now.
You better pray y'all win.
Facts. And that's it is what it is. You said you had to come on and come on real quick and say something to one of us though, Breezy. You finna slide?
You on the phone?
Go ahead and type that. You about to slide? Oh, he said for sure. Let's see what he got to say. So we can get up out of here. Let's see what you got to say. There go the link. Come in and let's hear what you got to say.
Cause this Nets talk is just blasphemous to me. Y'all really just let that KD. Y'all did realize y'all got to cut that in half. Y'all not the same thing.
That is
y'all
what
not.
It is, man.
How did the Bulls get better? We got 2 key.
Go back and rewind to the first 5 minutes of the video. Like that's all I got to say.
We was sending Caruso and them out in the second unit. And they had to stay there, and now we got 2 more players that can shoot better than him. Maybe that's how we got better.
We got Breezy in here. What up, Breezy?
Chilling, man. Salute to the panel. Salute to the channel.
Sure.
Appreciate it. What you got to let us know about the Brooklyn Nets, bro?
I don't know who started that title. You know what I mean? Saying y'all got 6th place. That's right around where we gonna be. So I don't see how we and y'all could be at the 6th place at the same time. Somebody gonna have to take the 7th and 8th. And I heard y'all mention the Pacers. They in y'all division, I believe. Y'all gotta worry about them more than we do. Y'all played them about 4 times.
And we beat them 3 times last year.
Shit, with this roster, I don't know. That's fair to say that y'all swept them.
You're right. It is fair to say. I do believe they got better.
They absolutely got better.
I feel like that's more of a threat to y'all because still, if you look at everything, we was a top 3 team until we lost 1 player.
Who?
Us.
No, I mean, who y'all lost? Lonzo Ball? Who? Like who?
Yeah, Lonzo.
I mean, but y'all still lost them.
Yeah, and we still been struggling ever since.
So I'm saying, all right, Javon Carter is who y'all got to replace Lonzo Ball. Is that fair to say?
No,
There's
you
no
didn't.
replacement.
There's
on
no
the boards
replacement.
right
If
now
we
for
was going,
Lonzo.
if we was looking for a real replacement, we would have got Drew.
Who shoot at a better 3-point clip? Carter or Ball?
Actually, they're about the
Nearest.
same.
Yeah,
I was
around
about
the
to say
same.
they both 40% 3-point shooters.
So what's the difference between Lonzo Ball and Carter? The defense, the passing for
No.
Ball.
Everything else.
Are you asking that? Have you seen
Just
them
like
play?
you said.
Like
Right.
Javon, so
Everything
Javon,
else.
here
I
it is.
mean,
I'll give
I'm
you a legit answer, Breezy. Hold on, let me give you a legit. All jokes aside, let me give you a legit answer. So they're very similar in the sense that they both are highly efficient 3-point shooters, and they both are solid defenders. The difference is Javon Carter is more of he's a 1-2 defender. Lonzo Ball can guard 1 through 4 and some 5s legitimately, and Lonzo Ball's a better half-court passer. Lonzo Ball's vision half-court is second to almost none in the NBA, so that's a little bit of a difference. Also, Javon Carter is a solid on-ball defender, but he's not the disruptive defender that Lonzo Ball is. Lonzo Ball forces turnovers. Javon Carter will shut you down, but Lonzo will shut you down and take the ball from you and before you realize it, he'll be tossing the alley-oop to Derrick Jones Jr. halfway down the court.
Half court.
That's the difference between the two of them.
But
all
Breezy,
right. So
you got a
out of curiosity, because I know not to hold y'all, because y'all say y'all about to leave, but just out of curiosity, what 5 teams y'all got in front of y'all? Like for y'all
The
to be
5?
6? Yeah.
For me personally, I'm gonna go Knicks, Cavs, Sixers, Bucks, Celtics.
Yeah, that's who we got in front of foul.
Yeah.
Do y'all think y'all toggle at 6 at least, or do y'all think y'all solid?
No, I think we're saying that we're fighting for the 6. Like we're competing for the 6. So we're not saying that outright. Like it's going to be a lot of teams. You guys, the Hawks, the Heat, the Bulls, all fighting for the 6 legitimately.
Yeah.
Like there's not that much separation between all those teams and where they're at right now. This is before the season starts. So all those teams are going to be competing for about 4 playoff spots.
No, I totally agree. That's what I'm saying. Like I hear that, but my thing is with the Chicago Bulls on the offensive side of the ball, I don't see no leader. You know what I'm saying? And I'm watching, being a Nets fan, I've seen a lot of good basketball being played by teams that got good point guards. I think that's why Miami went so hard for Dame Lillard. The reason why Drew Holiday is out of it is because he got his ass bust by Jimmy Butler. Case in point is the point guard can make or break a team, and not having Lonzo Ball and Javon Carter and Ayo, I like Ayo. You know what I mean? But on the offensive side of the ball, I just think when it come down to the clutch, that last 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, it's going to decide what happens with the Bulls and the reason why I don't got y'all in 6th place, not to troll and no shit like that, is because y'all do miss Lonzo, and y'all did not replace him, and y'all off-season decisions did not, I don't know, make y'all, in my opinion, humble opinion, a threat to the 6th place. I think y'all 7th,
that's where you get it
8th place.
wrong. Is that Lonzo didn't run the half-court offense either way. Like that's not what Lonzo.
We still didn't use
he didn't run the half court off. We have never been a team that has run the half court offense through a point guard. So when I agree with you that you mentioned teams that have that type of point guard. The Bulls don't. But that doesn't mean that they can't. Like that is why you look at what they've tried to change this offseason, running more through Vooch, moving the ball around, being point guard by committee, being smart in how you move the ball because you don't have a point guard that can run the show. And a lot of teams don't. You mentioned teams that do, of course, but this ain't the 90s. This isn't about having a point guard all the time that's going to run, set up everybody in the half court. It's great when you can have that. Let's be clear, even at our best with Zoe when we were top 3, we didn't run it that way either way. Lonzo never ran the half court offense.
We used Lonzo 75%. We used a 75% Alonzo. We didn't even use the full Alonzo we could have gotten. So, like, to me, I feel like why we're so definitive in the 6th spot is because talent-wise, we're a top 4 team talent-wise. Now we got to put it together, and why we ain't putting it together is why we putting him at the 6. Because when it comes to all those teams we name at the 6, we think we're talented better than y'all.
I mean, we're a new group. It's hard. I'm not going to debate much of it, but what I will say is that Jack Vaughn got like y'all said about the offseason.
You like Jack Vaughn?
Yeah, Jack Vaughn.
Jack Vaughn is a smart coach.
He got to handpick his assistant coaches and players, so his style of play is kind of what he wants it to be. Ben Simmons, I know y'all might not know this, but Jacque Vaughn was similar of a player to the way Ben Simmons was when he was in college.
True.
Let me just throw that out
True.
there.
But
When
the
he was in
difference
college,
is the mentality. Ben Simmons
Yep.
don't want to
It's
play
different.
basketball.
he want that contract.
True, but he don't want to play basketball.
That's the issue. That's the issue. If you playing for contract,
wants
it's
to
kind of
That's what
playing
it
for
is. That
ball.
money trying to talk.
That's the issue, right?
Ben Simmons is all good right now. The pressure's going. And listen, I like it. Let me be clear. I love the Brooklyn Nets roster. Love a lot of the players on that roster. So it's not
I want
a
Cam
slight to the
Johnson
roster.
right
but if
now.
you're going to
Yeah.
bring up Ben Simmons, the moment Ben Simmons misses a wide open shot in Brooklyn, the season's over with for him.
Y'all need a therapist.
That's it.
Oh man, I mean, I tend to think that the beautiful women in the Brooklyn area will motivate Ben Simmons. The
Better
clothing.
than have you been in New York? You've been in New York. If it didn't motivate, if beautiful women didn't motivate him in Philly, it ain't gonna motivate him in Brooklyn. Bro.
Oh, my.
I don't need him no distractions. I
And
need
I'll
him
say this: Philly women have no morals at all. If that didn't
At all.
motivate him, it's not motivating him in Brooklyn, bro.
He basically got a Philly woman there, but she ain't from Philly, and he been messed up ever since. I ain't gonna say her name. We all know who we talk about.
Oh man,
But appreciate you, Breezy. Hey, thank you, man.
I'll be back next Monday, y'all.
All right,
Peace,
bro.
y'all.
Oh,
All
bro, you have
right,
a good
bro.
one.
Appreciate it. Adrian, we're gonna bring you up, my guy, before we get up out of here. Adrian, what you got
Hey,
for?
what's up, man? What's up, man?
What up?
I just want to give a big shout out to all you guys, man. Been doing this part's been awesome. Big fan, like I said, from overseas. Just looking at the pod. I just want to hit you guys with a quick question. What do you, I know you guys probably saw all the rumors coming out from the guys like Zach Lowe and all those guys. I'm gonna be real. I'll believe it when I see it, just because, like I said, this team's done nothing at every single deadline, right? So all of these rumors, they might trade Lamar, they might trade Zach. Cool. Let me see it first, and then I'll believe it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was watching some preseason games back, and there's some stats that have come out. Now, here's the thing, right? Zach didn't play all the games. The starters didn't play all the games, so it's a bit unfair to use those stats to try and project anything. But we were looking into the offensive rating, the defensive rating, the number of threes they attempted, right? Because those are the big things that they wanted to try and change. And I think every single one of them, I think it was around 26th to 28th for nearly every single ranking. Do you think there's any concerns for that coming into the season? And whether we can change any of that tangibly with the current squad we have, or do you think there's nothing much to go into it just because of the fact that the sample size isn't big enough to make any analysis on that?
I think it's always a concern. But go ahead.
I was gonna say it's always a concern when you see like some of the rankings that come out during preseason, but then as you mentioned, look, you know what I'm saying, the minutes are being, handed out to multiple players. Some players not even on the team right now at the start of the season. So, but there are some concerning things to where when you look at how the Bulls are still getting beat with the backdoor cuts, the rotation sometimes is still a bit too slow. Sometimes there's still some issues when it comes down to communication. Then sometimes the Chicago Bulls, we know offensively, they trying to change the shooting profile. And then you got guys in certain games that won't shoot the three and they're clearly wide open. But then the last game of the season, you see a little bit more aggressive. So on one side, it does provide some positive things to look forward to. But like I always say, you got to put it on wax for me before I believe it. So
that's why I was hitting. That's my whole thing. Like, it's always going to be a concern for me because one thing we know 100% about this team, when things get low and things get down and we're not playing the best game that we could be playing, what do? We go back into our old habits. And we do that every single time. So I don't care what I saw this preseason. Yep. I'm still concerned that corner three is still going to be open until I see otherwise. I'm still scared that the rotation and on the communication side is not going to be up to tier like it's supposed to be. I believe sometimes on defense we over rotate when the ball is being passed on good ball movement plays. And until I see otherwise, I'm gonna always have that in the back of my head. But what we did see is what we noticed that we seen and what we like. But at the same time, we'll be lying to say that we don't have our concerns.
So when you said the corner three, were you saying on the offensive side or the defensive side? Because I think
That was
both
on the defensive side. But both, to be honest, well, on the offensive side, we weren't making the corner threes. On the defensive side, the three corner was always open. So I guess
that's
on
also because of the scheme as well. Though. That's the issue. Like the way we're so aggressive at attacking the ball handler, that's going to open up the corner 3-point shot even more. And teams want to utilize that corner 3-point shot as much as possible, right? It's the most efficient shot in all of basketball, right? So if you're running a scheme where that shot is going to be more open, and then it's also the most efficient shot in all of basketball, it's a mismatch, right? The thing is, like, if you get the interception, if you get the deflection, you kind of mitigate that negative. So it goes hand in hand, right?
But yeah, that, when you start talking like that, then that's when we look at Billy Donovan, and I literally don't have I don't trust anything
well, the
that
issue is
man
the
put
reason
out.
why they do that is because they don't have a center who is what you would class or define as someone who you can literally block shots with naturally. He's good when it comes to isolation defense, but when you're looking at just out and out shot blocking rim protection, he's not going to give you that, right? That's why they run this scheme, which is so aggressive at harassing the ball handler, right? And that's also why you saw so many times where the Bulls just got cooked on the 3-point shot because that corner three is always going to be open in the right matchup. We'll see if how this pans out, right? But yeah, man, this is just a final thought I wanted to give you guys, right? If when people said blow it up, right? I disagree with the notion, but mainly because I've done my own research. I spoke to people. I've had a chance to look into reports. This draft class isn't great. If you wanna blow it up like the Spurs did recently when they traded DeJounte Murray, right? You gotta have an idea of, okay, there are one or two prospects in the draft class we can look at and be like, okay, that's a player we can build around, right? I don't see that in this draft class, and there's only one guy I can see in the next couple of years who maybe has a chance of doing that, right? There's no player who's out and out elite prospect, right? So this is the thing I wanted to hear you guys thought on. If this season doesn't go well, do you then make the decision to, for me, not going well, not making the playoffs, do you then decide to not blow it up and just commit to the tank? I know we don't have our pick for 2025, but if you are in a certain range within that top 4 range, or where you are going to be most likely being in the lottery for the top 4, you're basically a 97%, 98% chance of landing that pick anyways.
Right.
And I think there are prospects in the 2025 draft that are worth taking that risk on. But yeah,
for sure.
Thoughts on that.
Hayes, you want to take that? When it comes to the draft,
I've talked about this a lot on the show before. The Bulls aren't going to tank. That's just not what it is. Now, that doesn't mean that they may not move on, because as I talked about on my show before, is that the Bulls are going to get to a place at some point where it's going to make more sense to remove some of these salaries, because they keep getting closer and closer to the tax as the years go on, and they're not going to pay the luxury tax. But this team is not going to blow it all up, and it's not going to tank, especially not while they still owe first round picks out to another team. So we owe our 2025 pick out to the Spurs, and so there's no chance of them really making significant moves. And keep in mind, the Bulls have in the summer of 2025, they can have about $60 million in cap space. That's if they extend DeMar and P. Will. That's going to be the next time that they make a considerable decision on this roster. But what AK's history has told us, that it's never going to be a team that just tanks. He's going to let the team naturally come to the conclusion. That doesn't mean he won't trade veteran players, things like that. But I just don't believe that this team is ever going to go full tank, because that just doesn't seem what the mindset of AK is. Now, we've never seen AK with the owner that refuses to pay the luxury tax either, which may change some things, but I don't see it with this team.
And also, when AK joined the Nuggets, they found a player in the second round to be that franchise cornerstone player. That doesn't happen often.
True, but at the same time, that also was a team that still had some sense if they would have, like, you had a player that tore his ACL twice, right? And more teams than not would have tried to move on from that team. So I move on from that player. So, like, yes, AK did amazingly. We're bringing in Jokic and having a player that turned into MVP caliber player. But I think what we've seen from AK in his mindset is he's going to continually try to build through the draft. And what that does is that allows you, if you're drafting correctly, to have a foundation of solid players. Once you do find that golden nugget, you now have solid role players up and down that roster. And I don't think that AK is going to go full tank. And I just don't see that happening for AK.
I agree with that too. I just don't see it, especially after last season. We was calling for everybody to be traded, as mad as we was in Chicago.
The problem with that argument is that the pick protections just did not make sense for them to tank last year. Like, there was statistically just not a good chance of them landing their pick. Whereas, like, we saw this with the Dallas Mavericks last year, where they just outright chose to tank the remaining half of the season because they had
their protections was a lot more straightforward. It was simply, if we make the playoffs, we send it. If we don't, we keep it. And tanking generally doesn't work.
10. It was outright top 10. So
tanking generally doesn't work, and it just doesn't. And so AK's not going to risk. Imagine blowing up a roster for a team, and then you risk. You've done all of that, and even by the chance that lottery ball doesn't fall in your way. It's different with Dallas. Dallas had Luka already. This team is not going to take that chance without having that true cornerstone in that. AK is just not shown that.
My only counter argument there is because of the ownership refusing to pay into the tax. The only way this franchise and this organization is going to find that kind of player is if fans outright protest and try and force some sort of change in the model they run, or B, they draft somebody who becomes that kind of player. And just the highest likelihood, like, yes, tanking doesn't work, but for sure as hell, the Spurs are probably pretty happy with who they picked at number one, right?
But that don't mean it's gonna work.
That doesn't necessarily mean we would land the number one pick if we chose to tank, right? I 100% understand that point, but you have to take that risk. You have to take the opportunity of trying to land that kind of player because you just don't have cornerstone player to build around right now.
And that's a fan mind. I'm not disagreeing with you as a mindset from a fan, but from the mindset of AK and what he's shown, to me, he's going to more so trust his ability to scout and say, listen, I trust my ability rather than tank and blow it off and risk losing it for nothing. I'm going to trust my ability to scout, and then I'm going to be able to uncover. So I'm not disputing anything that you say, but much like he found Jokic in the second round, I think AK is more so going to, and just like he found Bitum now by going out and getting there, and he looks like a guy that is probably going to develop and be something nice for the Chicago Bulls. I think AK is more so going to bet on his ability to think that he's the smart, because that's another thing he showed. He thinks he's usually the smartest guy in the room. I think he's going to bet on that before he bets on completely blowing it all up and tanking.
Steve-O, you had something?
And he said the Spurs is happy now. I said, yeah, they're happy now. And then Cleveland was happy now when they got LeBron too, until they couldn't figure it out. And he left. It happens. More times than that happens more than you figure it out just because you took that risk. It's a risk for a reason.
And I throw another one at you, Adrian. Look at Joel Embiid. He hasn't requested a trade.
But
but
and they took them, and look how many number one picks they had to go through to find Joel Embiid.
It could have been a very different situation. Like,
but that's looking.
But the
hindsight. Hindsight is 2020,
right?
Yeah. My thing is, right, I understand what Hayes is saying, and I fully understand that narrative. The problem is I haven't seen anything yet from AK. If we're just being honest about him, grading him in terms of his drafts, in terms of actual, can we say that he has drafted somebody that we can invest in the franchise in for the next 5-10 years? I don't think we can.
I'm with you on that. I think that's fair.
So maybe he is
y'all
as
make
good
that
as
so hard. Like, I think y'all make that like it's easy. Like, it's not easy to find.
Sure. But life is harsh, man. We gotta, when we're evaluating players, when we're evaluating GMs, we just have to be honest about the evaluations. Have they lived to their talent identification that they were supposed to bring to the Chicago Bulls, right?
I'll say yes and no. The reason why, AK brought in DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso in the season where we technically had no cap space. That version of the roster that he built was the number one team in the East. They wouldn't stay the number one team in the East, but imagine if Lonzo not gotten hurt, if we would have been able to spend the last 2 off seasons since he got hurt actually adding to the holes of that team rather than try to replace what Lonzo Ball brought in. So AK he's made mistakes drafting. He's absolutely made mistakes as a GM, but I think sometimes we forget that the version of the roster that he envisioned was working before injuries took that down. Now, he has not rebounded from that well at all. He doesn't get any credit. He's not rebounded from that at all. To me, I would have never gone into last season hoping and wishing Lonzo would have came back. That was one of the biggest mistakes that they made. But you also have to evaluate, yes, it went wrong, but look at what he made in a year where the team technically had 0 cap space. We added 3 players to the team that helped change the identity of the Chicago Bulls and helped turn that version of the team around from where we were a season prior to that. But we weren't able to keep it up because of injury, unfortunately.
Our last biggest signing that was like that was Carlos Boozer.
Yeah.
Bro. Right, man. This is the thing, though,
Adrian, final thoughts, my guy. What else you got for us?
I think, look, man, I kind of understand where you guys are coming from when you originally brought up the idea of the 60. I know you guys argued with the guy, the Nets fan. I just think that Bulls fans have to be ready for all circumstances, right?
Of course.
You think we not? You think
this
we
is
not?
a Billy Donovan run team. Believe me. As much as we think some things can go right, it can go terribly wrong with Billy Donovan.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Andrew. It is some delusional fans out here, but those are fans you completely ignore. Those are fans that you can see in the first few first minute of talking to somebody, you know if they know basketball or not. If they just say that's what we call the sky is falling Bulls. Oh, we didn't work out. Like if you don't see something that could go wrong in this team, you're just stupid. That's literally on you. Yeah, anything can happen with this team. This team is not steadfast at what anything they can do. We're just predicting what we can do because of what the talent and what we've seen them do in now and in the past. But yeah, I don't listen to those type of we need to blow up right now. It ain't going right. To me personally, I'm looking at the trade deadline before we looking at the end of the season, to be honest. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah. I think just as final thoughts, I think look, so long as we can see a commitment from the entire team to change how they play, I hope we can see an upturn in form. I think we were predicted before the last season to have around 44, 46 wins. We got 40. I think we had 16 close games that we lost, 16, 17 close games that we lost. So hopefully we see an improvement because I think we were one of the best clutch teams that first year.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that leads to improvements. You never know with all things the NBA, the way it changes. And again, I just hope that we also prioritize the youth on this team, which probably won't happen. And again, in this future, I just hope that we actually start drafting basketball players instead of focusing on traits. But that's a conversation for another day.
Real. We got to get into that. But hey, thanks, Adrian, man. You have a great night, bro.
That man said that with a strong, not Adrian. That man said Puzo was a top 10 MVP.
Top 10 MVP candidate.
Where?
There was never a season that happened. Like this, my man is on alternative facts, bro. That's 06, 07. He was a top 10 MVP candidate. No, you're an idiot, bro. Like, come on, bro. We got to end the show.
Wasn't he on the Jazz?
Yeah.
Bro, that's literally one of the most stupid comments that have ever been left in history. Bro.
06,
Y'all got anything left, man?
West Goat is an idiot. That's what
I'm puzzled,
bro.
I'm puzzled after that one.
But hey, that's it from us, man.
06, 07, Carlos Boozer averaged 20 and 11. And played 74 games. That's a top. Go back and look at the players' averages. You mean to tell me you think that was an MVP top 10 MVP candidate season? Carlos Boozer, bro. Come on, man. Let's go, bro. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, appreciate y'all for tuning in to the latest edition of C-Red Podcast. You can hit Steve-O up on social media platforms at Steve-O Peaks. You can go ahead
I'm sorry, bro.
on all social media platforms at CEO Hayes. You can find me on Shy Bulls Podcast. Shout out to PC. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel before you roll out. Catch y'all on the next.
I'm what even better than Bosch.